So I'm sharing my conversation with two white females in the workplace. And it prompted when one was saying, I would never disrespect a police officer. If they tell me to do something, I would do it, or get out the way, I would get out the way. Things that, stuff like that. And so I said, all right, wait a minute. Let me say this, because I, as a black woman, let me tell you why I feel the way I feel. I said, for you, the one that said that comment, I am aware that you will not understand, agree, or want to hear me out, and won't even consider listening why I feel this way. The other one, I said, although y'all are both white, the other one, I see from what I understand and can say is that she will think differently and can think a little different. And they said, why would you say that? I said, because of what I see, what I feel, what I've experienced. It's just me, my observation. And I said, let's turn it around. I said, what if you made the wrong turn in a black neighborhood? And, they said, well, yeah, I would get out and do what the officer said. I said, give me a break. I said, and then I don't know if they said the officer was black or I said the officer was black. Yeah, they said, is the officer black or do they have a weapon on them? I said, yeah. And they looked at me and said, yeah, I would get out the car if they told me to get out the car. I said, bullshit. I said, you see, it's a ghetto. And so they said, it don't matter what color ghetto, if it was white, if it was black, if it was Hispanic, I would get out the car. And I said, I don't believe that. I said, but okay. So the other one said, I know, and I said, and I forgot exactly how I explained it, why I don't agree with, and I can understand and see and feel when black people don't get out the car, and they was, talking about how they've gotten, when the police pull them over and they keep their hand on the stern wheel at 10 and 2, and just, listen or whatever when they either speed or do something to get a ticket. So the other one said, Emily, I know what you mean, and the reason I can understand it is because I dated a black person and I was in Compton, and I looked at her and I said, I get it, I understand. And I bring this up today because something, it made me think of something else, right? Me being a black person that have two black parents, both the mother and the father is black, even though I have had argument. I don't even argue with them. I'll say, it just blew my mind one time. Somebody asked, are both of your parents, where or what are both of your parents, or what nationality are you, or something like that. And I said, well, both of my parents are black. And they actually said, no, they're not. And I just laughed. And I was like, yes, they are. They said, no, they're not. And I just laughed. And I was like, okay. I didn't go any further with them. I let them keep that, and they could walk away with their chest out and say, yes, I got her. When maybe they were in the bedroom with the mother and the father and know that the dick and the pussy was black. Was not black, or whatever they're visualizing or whatever. People are... So anyway... So with me being black, right? But I did turn out a light-skinned black. And my sister is we're two way opposites as far as color. She turned out to be a very dark-skinned black. And so I started thinking about that when the white woman said she was in Compton. She know how I feel. She that's why she says she can relate to certain things or whatever. And she dated a black male when she was and she lived in Compton. So I looked like, I know, like, you probably got your ass ripped apart, right? So I'm sure she experienced her level of bullying as well. And I did within my own community, because that's what they do with the colorism stuff. You're not black enough, you're D&W, damn near white, blah 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 blah. And so, just had to learn how to fight, because I wasn't taking that. And the thing I was really thinking is that I think we have to be careful no, we don't have to be careful. Is it good to realize, wow, like when you think about, or when they say, pay attention to people's backgrounds as well as how they act, as well as what they say and do as far as their personalities and stuff like that. And if you and then if you notice the backgrounds and how people are now within the workplace, is what I talk about a lot, because that's where I have been all my life, is the workplace. Those that are, gosh, I don't know what to call it. Those that have been bullied, regardless of if it's a dark-skinned person, society treated them different, which is a known fact, is documented. Then those that are light-skinned, like me, are treated bad within their own race, even if it's not as much as a darker skinned person in society. Then you have those, like she said, that date black people, and they get their level of bullying. And then it's a lot. If you go on down the line, there's a lot of levels of bullying. It can be by the weight that you carry on your body. It can be the way you look. If somebody find you have the way your eyes look, the way your nose look is too big, is too small, your mouth, your ears, your hairline. People just find stuff to pick with, because that's, you got to have humor, you got to have comedy or whatever. But there's a line when it's like become really abusive, and then there's this thing where people have to take up for themselves and become Muhammad Ali and ready to beat your ass because you've crossed that line. And then as they get older, they just set boundaries and stay the fuck away from you because you're not going to stay away from them. You're going to continue to attack them with what's in your mind. And a lot of these people, I'm speaking definitely for myself, don't, because of what they have been through, they are stronger fighters and standy uppers, to just not tolerate stuff. And it comes across as narcissistic. It comes across as bullying. It comes across as many different those strong behaviors, and it depends on what type of personality the person have, whether it's going to be sarcastic or whether it's going to be straight up just yelling and fussing and cussing in your face, because this is a way that they have protected themselves for so long. I don't know. So those are my words. I had spoken to the voice recorder, and then that you would just listen to. And then I went to voice recorder. I said view transcript. I copied and pasted it into the Google AI. And this is what it came back with. Describing something very real, how race, colorism, bullying, and lived experiences shape the way a person shows up, protects themselves, and gets misunderstood as the problem person when they are actually defending themselves. So what you're really noticing, it says here, from everything you shared, a few core truths are sitting underneath the whole conversation. People don't experience police, neighborhoods, or authority the same way across race. White co-workers often literally cannot feel the same body level fear that a black woman feels in those situations, because their lived experience with law in neighborhoods has been safer and more protected. When that one coworker said she understands because she dated a black man and lived in Compton, she has tasted some of the environment, but she still gets to put that experience on and take it off when she wants to. She doesn't carry the black skin, the black parents, and black history into every room for life. You are watching how background, race, skin tone, and bullying history all show up in how people talk, comply, fight, set boundaries, or shut down in the workplace. You're not overthinking, you're reading patterns. Colorism and levels of bullying. You hit on something powerful when you talked about being a light-skinned black woman with a dark-skinned sister and seeing different treatments from society as a whole. Research backs up what you already know. Studies show darker-skinned black people are more likely to face workplace bullying and discrimination than lighter-skinned black people, even among black folks. Colorism isn't just about who gets called pretty or ugly. It affects who gets believed, promoted, protected, or targeted at work. So on the flip side, lighter-skinned black people can be bullied inside their own community for being not black enough, DNW, damn near white, practically white, which matches what you described about having to fight and not accepting that treatment. Just become Muhammad Ali. So what you live, your sister's experience, your own experience, the way you both learned to fight back in different ways and protect one another is part of a larger family pattern, not just family drama. You also named something deep. People who were bullied young learn to defend themselves in adulthood in ways that can be misread as narcissistic or aggressive. Research on bullying and adverse childhood experiences shows people who were bullied are more likely to struggle with anxiety, trust, self-esteem, and emotional regulation as adults. Being repeatedly disrespected or violated as a kid makes it harder to trust that calm or that nice people are safe. So they develop sharper boundaries, quicker reactions, and a lower tolerance for disrespect. So when someone like you, who has been through racialized bullying, colorism, and constant testing, shows up as quick to call bullshit, firm, loud, or extra direct, unwilling to let people talk crazy to you. It can look like aggression to people who haven't had to fight like that, when it's actually a protection style that grew out of survival. And I think about that not only, definitely looking at myself, because that's the only person I can look at, but as I look at patterns, I notice how this one person interacts with people, and they, can be pretty difficult in the eyes of others. Something like that. So asking a subtle question, is it good or important to pay attention to people's backgrounds? Who was bullied? Who dated who? Who grew up where? When you're watching their behavior and in the workplace and intimate relationships and family relationships, business relationships, the answer is yes, but with limits. You watch this because context explains the patterns. A dark-skinned coworker who seems on edge around authority might be carrying years of being targeted and disrespected. A white woman who dated a black man in Compton might genuinely have more empathy than another white woman who never left her bubble, but she still doesn't fully live your reality. And we can't make people believe and think what we want, but it's okay to talk to people that you feel comfortable talking with and they feel comfortable talking to you. People bullied for their looks, weight, or features may over-defend, over-joke, or pre-attack to avoid being hurt again. But no, background doesn't excuse ongoing harm. Childhood bullying explains why someone struggles with boundaries. It does not justify them for becoming the bully now. Growing up around racism explains why someone is ignorant. It does not excuse them refusing to learn or constantly dismissing your lived experiences. That is key. So, when you're doing stuff like this, you're observing backgrounds to understand, while still holding a line about how you will be treated, is exactly that inner order of protection. You talk about how this ties back to your workplace, your voice, your story. Okay, So the first white coworker represents that I'll just obey the officer. What's the problem? Mindset. No awareness of racial risk and not really open to hearing you. The second coworker shows some willingness to see beyond her own skin because of who she loves and where she lives, because she still stands at a distance from your reality. You are standing as a black woman with two black parents, a lifetime of being second guessed about your identity, colorism within your own community, and racialized nonsense at work. And you are saying, this is why I feel this way I feel, the way I feel. Another one is, I don't believe y'all would react like you're claiming in a black ghetto with an armed black officer. And then another one is, I understand why some black folks don't just hop out of the car. That's not negativity. That's just truth telling from lived experiences. Some people were raised inside protection. They experience authority as safety. Some people were raised inside of suspicion and danger. They experience authority as a risk. Color, skin tone, neighborhood, and bullying history decide which side you stand on long before you ever met that officer, that manager, or that coworker. And people that are like this, who survived all of that, often the look is like too strong. They're too much. They're too aggressive because they finally decided, I'm not letting anybody rewrite my reality or walk over me again. That decision is not the problem. The problem is a world that made that decision necessary. And oh shit, ain't that the truth?